Empire.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Kahn Report. Wherever you get your podcast, you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media. That's AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you tune in. And don't forget, you can always read my work on ESPN.com. I'll have a story up, whether it's up today or very soon, on the last 5 years at quarterback for this team, what they've gone through searching for a quarterback since Kirk Cousins left, the resources they put into it, why they feel good that, hey, maybe this now with Sam Howell is the guy to have for several years. It's amazing some of the bad stats with quarterback play here over the years, and it's why this franchise hasn't done anything for a long, long time. Now, with Joe Gibbs, at least you had a Hall of Fame offensive line, or you should have had multiple members on that line in the Hall of Fame. You could build around the court. You had guys around the quarterback. You had one of the best coaches ever. If you don't have that, you better have the quarterback. Anyways, they feel like they have their guy now, but it's kind of showing a national audience what this organization and and subsequently what the fan base has been through at this position ever since Kirk Cousins left. And to be honest, like with Cousins, it's always, or guys like that, it's always like, if you don't pay for them, if you don't keep them, there's a flip side. Can you, what's life without even just a solid quarterback? So anyways, whole nother dilemma. Anyway, you can read that up. It'll be up on ESPN and give it a read. There you go. Stay tuned at the end of this portion for a short interview I did with rookie center/guard Ricky Stromberg, where he's seen improvement in himself, his play at guard. And we talk about a few plays. I actually brought up one play that I thought he did a really nice job in the second preseason game. He didn't remember it, but I did, and I know the coaches did because I talked to them about it as well. Showed really good awareness in the play. I think it's kind of funny that he didn't remember it because it's not like he thought like, oh, this is his greatest play ever. It's just a play that he did, whereas for me, it stood out. For him, it was like, hey, you just did your job. Anyway, so stay tuned for that one. And there you go. What I wanted to do today is give you somewhat of an update on receiver Terry McLaurin, because I know there's going to be a lot of consternation and worry and fear and headaches or whatever with him until that game is played on September 10th. So, and you're going to see different things. And so this is where it's at. And I think there's been some reporting on this. Obviously, I think that's all accurate. For example, they are optimistic that he could return for the season opener, but being optimistic does not guarantee anything. There have been times where they've been optimistic about players, and then you get up to that week of the game or you get close to the game, and you realize not quite there yet. Maybe if the game were 3 days later, he'd be okay. But we're talking about that kind of a difference here. So when you see a tweet like from Adam Schefter where it says it's not certain that he'll be back, that's also true. It's not certain. Optimism does not guarantee anything. It's not a lock. So keep that in mind. So you're going to see that it doesn't mean things have changed. It just means it's kind of how the different way of looking at it. And to be honest, and some of it is on McLaurin's side, it's managing expectations, because what if he's not ready to come back, and you don't want him rushing to come back because, oh, they said I would. And that nobody has said that he would. And so I think just keep that in mind. Now, is it a turf toe or sprain? Sounds like it is a turf toe. However, the degree to which it is still is not even in terms of like how severe it is, but just, is it a really mild one, or is it maybe something else? But it sounds like it would be classified as a turf toe. And so in that case, then it could take a few weeks. If that's the case, that's why there's optimism that he could return. So I think right now, so just know all that. There's nothing definitive, and there's not going to be anything definitive, certainly not over the next several days. So, it's going to be hard to tell. I think it could come right down to the wire. And if he's not back for the opener, he'll be back for week 2. But the plan now is they talk about day-to-day treatment. It's just about staying off his feet. He will have been in a walking boot for 1 week. So from either Monday night, Tuesday morning into this Monday, he'll be in a walking boot, staying off his foot. They want him off his foot as much as possible. Rest. That means even for Saturday's preseason game against the Bengals, I don't know if he's even going to be there because they really want him off his feet. Knowing Terry, he's going to want to be there, but not a guarantee, because the smartest thing for him is to stay off that foot. They certainly do not want him down there standing on the sidelines. If he's there, he'd be up in a box somewhere watching, because he needs to stay off that foot. They're kind of taking a similar approach with John Allen. For example, I'm out here right now at Joint Base Andrews. Sorry about that. Joint Base Andrews out in Maryland, where they practiced earlier in front of military members. John Allen was not here. McLaurin was not here. Again, guys that need to stay off their feet and just kind of rest up a little bit for that. So that's the deal with Terry. So just my point is, it's not worth you. There's nothing definitive now. So you're just going to have to wait and see where it develops. And it's going to probably come down to the wire. But again, not a guarantee, but there remains optimism that they feel he can get back for that opener. Now we'll just see where it goes. You remember, right? Antonio Gibson had a turf toe a couple of years ago. And that's when I know Nicky Javala wrote about that, how I think his timetable, he was out for 20 days. That would put McLaurin right in line for that opener if it's the same level of a turf toe, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what you need to know there. So let's look a little bit at Saturday, because listen, it's a big game for some people, certainly. The starters will not play, except for, as Ron Rivera told us just a few minutes ago, except for a select group of starters. Now, based on watching practice, based on what they did during the walkthrough today at Joint Base Andrews, it looks like the interior offensive line would go, because working with Jacoby Brissett, who will start and play a quarter and a half at quarterback, working with him over the last few days was Nick Gates at center, Sadiq Charles at guard, and then Sam Cosmi at guard. Charles Leno has not been out there dealing with a shoulder injury. Andrew Wiley dealing with something with his left calf. So they haven't been out there. So you have backup tackles, but the interior offensive linemen. And again, I've been telling you about some of those double teams and wanting to work on those. And I know Nick Gates has talked about liking more reps. And it comes down to blocking combos, how you see things, how you pick things up, how much a guy needs to before you can move on, et cetera. So all that stuff, you get some more reps. And again, I told you before, it doesn't matter if it's against backups, you just need the reps together. So you start to get a feel for that guy next to you, because that's very, very important. Now, one of the other guys we didn't see out here was Kendall Fuller. Haven't seen him in a few days, dealing with some knee soreness. And, this is the one, you get some veterans like Logan Thomas, Kendall Fuller, Leno, Wiley. They start getting those little nagging injuries in camp. You've got to make sure you take care of them. And Terry's not the youngest guy now, not the oldest guy entering his prime, but you want to make sure you take care of those guys, especially as you get older, because you don't want anything to happen to make it worse. And that's just what happens in this league. So I think they're going to be extra cautious with guys like that. I don't know anything about the opener for them. And I'm sure Logan Thomas certainly trending right, and I would think the others will be fine, but I don't know anything for sure on a guy like Kendall Fuller. So we'll monitor that and see where that goes. Next week, they're only going to have a couple practices, and then the week after that is when the practice for the opener begins in earnest, and that's when you'll get a really good feel for who's going to be available or who not. Right now, they don't have to tell us. They don't have to tell you anything. They just, we know what their injuries are dealing with, but no, we don't know the severity of some of these, and all that. So they don't have to really give you the full detailed information or give you more information on all that in terms of status until the week before the opener. And really, it's that Wednesday before the opener. That's when we'll really know for sure how things look for a lot of these players. Anyway, back to Saturday, because this game, there's always one or two spots that kind of gets decided. And Saturday, sometimes it's because maybe somebody gets hurt, opening up a spot for someone else. Maybe it's because somebody emerges as a player. Again, I bring up Shaka Toney. There have been other guys too in the past that have a really good final game. Maybe a Jared Patterson a couple of years ago, where he has a good game. And it's like, okay, now you kind of want to put him on there. And even for guys like Patterson, like a Jonathan Williams, what they really need to do is put out good film. And the more good film you put out, the more chance you have of playing in the NFL, because for both those guys, I just don't see them making it, short of somebody getting hurt ahead of them, like a Rodriguez, Robinson, or Antonio Gibson. So short of that, those guys are going to have a hard time making it. But by the way, I'm going to go over more of the roster stuff from Monday's podcast, because the final cuts will be Tuesday. And I think they're going to be made early in the day. So the deadline is 4:00 on Tuesday, but I will go over how I see this for Monday's podcast. And after Saturday's game, Bram Weinstein, the voice of the Commanders, and I will discuss just kind of the end of the preseason for Washington, where this roster is at, what we like, what we don't like, concern, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So last thing here, a couple spots that I think are worth watching going into this finale and going into next week. Defensive line, do you keep 11 or 10? Because then it depends then if are you keeping 4 or 5 linebackers? That determines how many D-line you keep. And I think D-line is going to be the area that will be the hardest decision to make. Not just, do you keep 10 or 11? And if you only keep 10, who gets cut between Smith-Williams, Tuhill, Henry, and Jones? And I don't think you're cutting one of the rookies. So, and I, by the way, I had Andre Jones, their 7th round pick. Yes, 7th round pick. I think I said on the thing yesterday that he was undrafted, just a brain cramp. I know he's a 7th round pick. Anyway, had him on there yesterday. Go back and listen to him for the podcast. But he's shown enough that he would be certainly hard to cut. I think then you're also looking at, do you keep 6 or 7 receivers? How does that impact Kaz Allen if you only keep 6? Does he make it? Could he make it if you keep 6? Then it depends. What kind of night does he have against the Bengals? A big return? Has he done enough as a returner to at least give you a taste, or other teams a taste, more importantly, of what he could do if you sign him as a returner only? Because he's not close to being ready as a receiver. So if you put him out there, you put him on the roster, it is only for returning kicks. That's it. So that's why, to me, it may mean that if you keep him, it probably means you keep 7 receivers. So again, more on that on Monday. And also, I told you about my Ricky Stromberg interview. So you know what? I'm done. Let's get to Ricky Stromberg. Here's my conversation with the Commanders' 3rd round pick, Ricky Stromberg. There is still time for one more family adventure this summer. The country's largest climbing and zipline park is open 7 days a week until Labor Day, with 8 different levels, 16 courses, 250 climbing obstacles, and over 4,000 feet of zip lines. The Adventure Park at Sandy Spring, located in Montgomery County, Maryland, is the perfect place to spend the last few days of summer. Once you're back on the ground, head over to Axe Throwing and try one of their brand new games. You can play Battleship, Blackjack, throw at traditional targets, or even upload your own images. They are now accepting group and family reservations for this fall. Can't make it out before school is back in session? Not to worry. The Adventure Park is open Friday through Sunday every weekend this fall. To end the summer right, listeners of this show can now get $10 off any ticket by entering the promo code KEIM23DC at checkout. That's KEIM, K-E-I-M 23DC at checkout. There is still time to get outside and join the adventure at theadventurepark.com. I'm just curious, first of all, how your camp has been. Your summer's been. What have you thought?
I think it's been good, but I think I can always do things better. I'm striving to, try to like, for me, for a good day is a perfect day, But overall, I think it's been pretty good, but I'm still just picking up on little things.
What are you most pleased with what you've been able to show through about a month or so?
Just being able to pick up on things fast, like learn the plays fast, that sort of thing. Being able to just kind of jump in there and go right at it, and that's something that.
Like, what are some examples of that? Do you have? Is it? How do you do that? How have you been able to?
Well, yeah, just I know where OTAs are when we got here. You got a playbook, and then the next day you're jumping in to plays. So do you have a night to study? So that's about it. So that's something I think I've shown well, is to be able to pick up that knowledge fast.
How does it, and what on the field? Because obviously you got a veteran in front of you in Nick Gates, and what have you picked up from him? What are things that that you have been able to incorporate into?
I mean, everything. Nick is awesome. He's an awesome vet. I asked him and Tyler for advice, for like literally everything. Everything you can think of, just like extra work, how they go about their days, how they go about certain schemes or protection, or how they're going to set this guy versus this look, that sort of thing. So I asked them for everything, and they're great.
What's the biggest thing maybe you picked up
from them?
Yeah.
Really, honestly, not like something they told me. Just watching them play and watching how they go about their business is how I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to follow their footsteps and go about how they go about their business is how I'm trying to go about my business.
So are you going to start showing your gut every practice like Nick?
No, Nick's got a better body. I can't do that. But They're just great. They lead great by example, and that's something that they've caught my eye for sure.
You're also now working at guard, and I know you were just talking about it over there for a minute, but like you look really comfortable at the position. How do you feel that comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty confident, but again, I'm still trying to work on every little thing that comes with guard because it is different from center. It's not a huge difference, but it is different than center, and I'll tell you, I feel more and more confident. The more and more reps I get at guard for sure.
What is some obvious differences? You're not saying the ball, but in terms of just blocking, what are some of the biggest differences or maybe the little things that you have to adjust to?
So little things is like being able. So if you had at center, if you have a tight shade versus if you have a tight 3 at guard, you're going to be punching on different times when you're at center versus guard. It's those little details and little techniques that are a little different. That's just something I just got to keep continuing.
Because watching your punches, you seem pretty aggressive at times with that at guard, which looks like it's a comfort level.
Yeah, I mean, it's a comfort level because I've been repping it so much. I think I'm getting more comfortable because we're coming out here before and then staying after and then during, just working on timing and punching. So it's just the over and over repetition.
How about like it also, and I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but in watching you, like the awareness you play with, I think that's one thing I always tell people. You seem to play with good awareness. Do you feel like that's a strength of your game? And
yes.
If so, where does that come from?
I think that just comes from honestly, just like watching football growing up, like just being around football since I was a kid, growing up, going through, middle school, high school, college. I think that just comes with also just loving the game, just watching it all the time, picking up on little things. I think it just stems from that. But yeah, I do think that's a big part of my game ever since I was young.
There was a play the other night where there was a blitz coming through your gap. You shove the blitzer, they run like a loop or a stunt coming around there. Do you remember that play? Because you handled it pretty flawless.
Is that center?
No, you were at guard.
I'd have to go back and watch it. I really don't remember in my head.
Okay. All right, it was a play that I looked like, again, the blitzer comes, you block them down, somebody loops around, you pick them up. And so, but it was a good play.
Yeah.
So you should go watch it.
Yeah.
So, what else? What is it like? Do you know, like with guard? Because it seems like if you want to be active on Sundays, you've got to be able to show that. Is that something they told you, or?
Yes. Yeah. It is something. Yeah. Something they told me. I got to be able to be guard, a center and a guard. Guard and swing guard. I can try to play both guards. And that's something that. Whatever they're telling me is what I'm going to do. So whatever's best for the team in my head, that's what I'm going to do, and that's what I've been working on. So.
What's the last thing? What's the one thing that you say, I've got to get better here? Because obviously everyone wants to get on the field, but where do you feel like I've got to get better here? Where
just consistency overall. I mean, that could mean just if I'm winning a rep, losing a rep, I'd rather win a rep, lose a rep. Not win, lose, or win, lose. Just overall consistency on the field. So, yeah.
And I'm sorry, I lied. This will be the last thing. Like strength, upper body strength on it. When you're watching some of those stuff, like you can't tell, like, is it the ability to anchor? Is it an upper body thing? How do you feel about that area? Like in terms of strength, what you need, is it there? Do you have to get better there?
Yeah.
Is it more about lower body anchoring or what?
I feel
you did pretty well the other night.
Yeah, I feel pretty confident. I think it's about anchoring in lower body, especially in pass protection if someone's pulling you. I think it's all about how you anchor. I think it all stems from down here, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's that big of an issue.
Okay.
I think that's something that
just more you have to get used to that.
Yeah. Get used to. I'm still learning. I'm still wanting to learn, still learning out here with everybody else. So.
Did they make you sing?
Yes, I did.
What'd you sing?
I sang "Ain't No Mountain High Enough."
Did they boo you?
No.
They
cheered.
They booed are you a good singer?
No, but I just sang my heart out.
Because they booed everybody else.
Some people got some ovations.
Oh, who got an ovation?
KJ Henry was the first one to go, and he got an ovation. I don't know what he sang. I don't know the song, but everybody loved it.
Okay. All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you.
it. That's it for this episode. Thanks to Ricky for joining me, and thank you, as always, for tuning in. I'll be back on Saturday night, late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, after the final preseason game with the voice of the Commanders, Bram Weinstein, as we go over the roster and just where do the Commanders stand now that the preseason is over and the opener is only 2 weeks away. So we'll talk to you next time.